Ay, ay, ay. I have just had, every time I come on, I'm like, okay, tone it down. Be cool, Crystal, be cool. But I have had an incredible conversation with the one and only Sam Villa, who is a big deal. And, everybody is a big deal to me. So I appreciate whether, you've got 2 followers or 2 million. I'm happy to hear from you and hear your story and your experience. But this was a really big moment for me. And I felt that having this opportunity to pick his brain was something I could not take him up on. So I have sat down. He's the global artistic ambassador for Redken. And he also is somebody who you would recognize, I'm sure, from social media and YouTube, and his face popping up and teaching you and inspiring you. And we have had a beautiful conversation about how he came up in the industry. And I actually asked about a few falls. Like, what were the moments that you weren't doing well? What was a moment where you thought, oh my gosh, this is it? Or, you had that bad press or something like that. So I think it's important to know that not everybody who has a platform like that has been all smiley faces and rainbows the whole time. So Sam and I have coordinated. He's in Florida. I'm here in Melbourne, as you all, I'm sure, know by now. And I just really can't believe that people, and I can believe it, because we all are good people in this industry. Most of us want to share and are happy for anybody to get anything from what we have to say. So Sam sat down with me today, and I really hope that you get as much out of this conversation as I did. Okay, guys, today's a special day. We may have just had a little technical difficulty. Leave it to me. I've never had one before. And, with the king himself, Mr. Sam Villa, how you going?
A pleasure, Crystal. That was kind.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, open the window and crack, because I was like, if this is really happening today of all days, it's going to be, amateur hour for me.
Well, it's a joy to be with you. I'm just excited to
No.
have an opportunity to talk about what's happening and share anything that I possibly can. I'm excited.
I love it. Well, I think that something that our visions maybe align on is the education part of the industry. And that's something that with you strikes a chord with me when I watch you, when I listen to you, and I hear your I guess your ethos for what you're trying to get done. It resonates with me. So I would maybe, I don't know how much you know about me and this platform that I've started, but I'd love to maybe give you a little
Please.
synopsis of where I'm at, and then we'll really just dive into you.
Sounds great.
Love it. So we had just a brief chat just before about the pandemic and, all of those things. And I think something that I can be very grateful for is it's given me this platform that I started and never had a vision for or anything, but something that is part of my time in Australia. I'm originally from Canada. Is that I am on a sponsorship visa. So that means I can work only for the employer that has hired me. So instead of being able to maybe do working for, say, in your example, Redken and the salon and get out doing education, those things are limited to me because I'm on a sponsorship. So this year, the salon shut down. I was out of work, out of pay, and unable to get any other form of job because I don't have work rights here unless it's with the salon. So I was having a pity party, let's be real.
I think we all
go
were.
home. I can't go home. I can't see my family. I can't see I can't work. What am I going to do? Because I feel like you might be like this, but a bit of a doer. I'm not about to sit down and twiddle my thumbs for 6 months. So I thought, what do I want to do for the next step in my career? And something that I think a lady we can connect with is Candy Shaw. And
Yeah.
I was so fortunate to be educated by her and represent her brand here in Australia. And to be able to get into education is where I would love to be going. What gives me joy, where I see myself lit up the most is when I'm doing that. So I thought, how am I going to become, in my own way, Candy or Sam or, these people who are sponsored by brands, have these big platforms. How does that happen for them? I don't understand how you go from being behind the chair to being this person. So I said, oh, I'm just going to ask people. I'm going to talk to people and use my days off. And we're all at home. Like, it's very rare that I'd probably be able to catch you for a podcast during the year when you're headlining shows on a world tour. So I thought, I'm going to take advantage of this time and talk to people and find out how I'm going to get to point B, you know? And
Mhm.
it's just snowballed from there. And my girlfriends were all like, oh my God, you have to tell me what he says or she says. I'd love to know their story. Like, and I was like, well, if y'all are interested in it, maybe I'll start recording them. And then
Right.
it's really taken off a bit, which I'm so grateful for. And what I would love to be getting to do is getting this into unis and high schools and hair schools, to show them that there is so much more to hairdressing than being behind the chair, and that aspect is beautiful and amazing, and I love being behind the chair. But the stigma really bothered me around hairdressing, and that, when I told my granny that I wanted to be a hairdresser,
Mhm.
well, what are you going to do after that? When are you going to get a real job? I was like,
Right.
excuse me, this is really hard, my feet are sore. And
My shoulders hurt.
yeah, I need better shoes. But those issues of that kind of generalization of hairdressing is what I want to eliminate. And I thought by talking to people who have gone above and beyond would inspire people to maybe reconsider getting into hairdressing. And that's my long-winded version of what I'm trying to do.
Well, first of all, I just want to say congratulations and just being proactive and doing something and not just not doing anything. I think this is a great opportunity. What happened was not nice yet. You can take something and rediscover things. And a lot of times I talk about, along my career and along my journey, Crystal, I've fallen so many times, but I
Yeah.
really believe there's a reason why we fall, because there's something down there that you're supposed to look at again. There's something that might need to be rediscovered. And this opportunity of what's happened with these lockdowns and how it's kind of stopped the pace of life or stopped a journey, it gave a lot of people to rediscover a lot of things. And I got to say, commend you for just being proactive and saying, you know what, I'm going to do something. But imagine what you're doing and how it's the communication right now that's building a lot of wealth for a lot of people. And these things where a lot of people are doing Zoom, a lot of people are talking. It's really creating a lot of connections. And
I
I
think
think those connections right now are so important. So congratulations to you for
you.
creating another avenue to create these connections. And I'm honored to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored to have you. I was like, don't sleep in today, Crystal. Don't sleep in today. When you have those like, oh, did I set my alarm? Did I set my alarm?
Yes,
I'm a bit
right,
of a sleeper, I'll admit. So I know we've had a time coordinating our time differences. You're in
right.
Florida, right? And I'm over here in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm always Googling, what's the time in this country or what's the time in this place? Because I'm like, don't mess it up. Where are you going over there in Florida? What's your weather right now? Are
Oh,
you
it's
warm?
beautiful.
Yeah.
But today was probably like 64 Fahrenheit. I'm not quite sure what that is in Celsius, but
Me
it's
neither.
it's been warm here. I've been very
Yeah.
fortunate to be where I'm at.
I think
Being in New
that
York for the last 20 something years, I just kind of like think about all those winters and especially what they're going through right now. Very fortunate to be where I'm at.
I know. So I'm from Toronto originally, so not far from New York. So I know those
Oh,
winters very well. But my grandparents used to be snowbirds and they would go to Florida. So I've been to Florida many
uh-huh.
a time and
Yes,
escaped the Canadian winter.
yes. I love Florida. I love it here.
How long
Mhm.
have you been living there now?
It's been about what 6, 7 years now that
Oh,
I've been
nice.
in Florida. Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
Well, I would love to dive in a little bit. And something I hope doesn't bother people, but when you have done quite a few interviews, I actually don't listen to them before because I like the conversation to be as authentic as possible and
Excellent.
genuine. And I genuinely am interested in your story. And I mean, sometimes you have people who have a bit more of a platform than others. And I do know a bit of your background, but for the audience and the fact that this has become kind of very an international show, something that I've learned is that the people who are big hitters in America and lining up and signing autographs at all the hair shows that I've been to, when I came here talking about whose Instagram I was inspired by or things like that, nobody knew who I was talking about.
Right.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
what do you mean you don't know who this person is or that person is? So I would love to ask you some questions that I hope aren't too repetitive for
Sure.
you, but
Yeah.
just to let everybody know the full deal. So, did you always want to be a hairdresser, and how did that start for you? I think your dad owned a barber shop, is that correct?
Wow, you have done your homework.
Oh,
Yes.
just a little,
A
just a
a
little.
a hairdresser was really not in my dream. A matter of fact, not even in my thoughts. I
Okay.
was pretty much an athlete growing
Yeah.
up. You know, did a lot of sports all the way through school and high school, and even college. I actually went to college to play volleyball. And
Oh,
my junior year in college, I went home one day and decided I wanted to drop out of college and go to beauty school. My mom was like, "What?" My dad was clapping underneath the table because I grew up in the barbershop, shining shoes, but I absolutely hated it, Crystal. I just didn't like it, standing up all day and watching my
hey.
dad. And sometimes I was shining shoes, so sometimes I couldn't get to sweep the hair. I mean, the hair was like up to his ankles sometimes. So I always thought, wow, I'm not going to do that. But I love sports. So I followed that dream until junior and decided there's no money in it. I need to really decide, what am I going to do? So I decided I wanted to go to beauty school. So my dad found a school. I went to that school and it took off from there. And where it really changed my life, believe it or not, was when
Love
I
it.
was I went to a hair show,
Yeah.
and I was probably what was I probably 3 months in beauty school. I'll never forget, and I'll never forget that weekend prior to the show. My teacher came up to me and she said, "Sam," I go, "Yes." It was what was it, Miss Lisa? No, it was Miss. I can't. She was German. Miss Uta. Miss Uta. She
Oh,
was German. And I said, "Yes, Miss Rutan." She said, "Your rollers are falling out underneath the dryer. You need to go put them back in. And Sam, you might want to consider doing something else."
oh,
So that just, my shoulders just went, what?
yeah.
And I walked back, and sure enough, so I put them back in. And that just really hit me like, oh gosh, what have I done? Maybe I made the wrong decision. Well, my dad called me up that evening and said, "Hey, what are you doing on Sunday?" I said, "Dad, I'm not doing anything. I don't have any money to do anything." He goes,
Yeah.
"Well, we're going to go to a hair show." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "That's where you learn what's the latest. You learn things." He goes, "Be ready at 7. I'm going to pick you up early." I go, "What time does it start?" He goes, 10. I'm going to pick you up early. So he picked me up and we drove into San Francisco. I'll never forget. I go, "Dad, who are we going to see?" He goes, "We're going to see Vidal Sassoon." Now, this was 1976. You weren't born, okay?
No, I was not.
1976. And this was when Vidal Sassoon, Redken actually brought him into the US, and he
Okay.
came into the US. And I'll never forget, my dad was smart, got us there early, front of the line, sat us in the second row, middle row, sat there, and I watched these four guys just take these Asian women with long hair and just melt it in these great, beautiful shapes. And I was on the edge of my seat and I said, "Dad, I want to do that." He said,
Mm,
"What?" I go, "I want to be up there someday and do that." He said, "Sit back." He goes, "That's all ego, no money. If you decide to do that, you do it with humility and you prove to me you can make some money." So, Crystal, I went back to school and now I had purpose. I had intent. I had purpose. It wasn't
yeah.
necessarily a goal. I was going to prove my dad wrong.
Yep.
So, about a month later, after that, my teacher's like, "What's gotten into you, man? You can cut a straight line. Your rollers aren't." I said, I'm going to be a platform artist." And she kind of rolls her eyes. "A what? Yeah, I went to see Sassoon and blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Oh, Sam." So that's how my journey started.
Love
And
it.
at any given time after I got out of school, any given time I had an opportunity to teach, I would share or teach. And it wasn't, it's to one-on-one or to a small
Yeah.
salon, whatever I could do. And I also found out that, I thought, wow, the skills that I learned in college, coaching and being in sports really helped me to understand how to break things down and make it simple.
Mm,
Instead of taking step one, how about if I break it into step A, B, C, D? So that's what my focus was, and I really believe that in today's world, Crystal, simplicity is today's brilliance. People are looking for simplicity. And I think what we do behind the chair is changing. It's all about express. I think the world, I'm just going to tell your community and your audience, we've got to be prepared that if you are back and you're going to be going back, that be prepared for change,
yeah.
embrace change,
Totally.
and understand just as the seasons change, we have to change. It's time for us to change the way we communicate, the time to change the way we operate. And it's about creating an experience and being an educator behind the chair today. I think the person that's the educator is going to win. And I think it's no longer about, well, I got to make this person happy by the way I service them or the talk about the things they want to talk about. No, I think it's now you need to really teach them and educate them how to take care of their hair, what to do,
Totally.
educate them on retail, on product, create an experience. And what
Yeah.
I mean by that, here's a simple example of it, Crystal, is an experience, guys, would be, can you imagine when you get to the finishing part of an appointment and you ask the client, like Crystal's my client, and I say, Crystal, can I have your phone? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I go, I want to tape record, videotape me teaching you how to style your hair. Now,
Mhm.
can you imagine the phone is on the station and
Yeah.
now I'm teaching you how to work with your hair, handing you the blow dryer, the brush, and talking about product, how much to use, what to use, when to use it, how. I give you your phone back, your own tutorials on the phone. Now
So
that's an
good.
experience. See, that's what I'm talking about, how we need to change the way we actually do, think, say, and do behind the chair. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer behind that.
Because I
But
think the fear in that people would think is like, oh, well, if I'm showing her how to do it herself, she doesn't need me anymore. But that's not what it is. She loves you now because you gave her that. She's always going to come back to you because you were willing to share with her and willing to show her. That's
yep,
exactly.
you're absolutely right. Imagine this.
Mhm.
People go, well, Sam, what do you think's the biggest thing that's happened? The biggest thing that's happened is something you and I love, and that's education.
Mhm.
The laptop has become the new classroom. And if there's anything, when I talk to salon owners, I go, what's the big learning lesson from you from this whole thing that's happened? They go, education. I go, what are you talking about? They go, Sam, my staff watch so much education. I'm going to value education more now. I'm going to put more money and support in my staff with education. I go, well, isn't that interesting? Because that's exactly what you're talking about. It's about education. You know, the time has come where we have to understand, look, if you don't take the time, guys, to tell your client how to get volume up here, what are they going to do? Do what they've been doing the last, what, almost a year? And that's Google.
Yeah.
Google. Google. So they've been learning, they've been educating themselves. And guess what? You don't teach them, they're going to go, how do I get a volume in the crown area with fine hair? And up pops Sam, teaching them how to do it. See,
Yeah.
this is where I think that it's going in terms of that is education has now become up at the pillar. You know, I think, and with retail too, I think it's no longer just let me service the client or let me add on a service. It's about now creating an experience. I mean, everybody probably knows Robert Cromings, and I was listening to Robert Cromings from Paul Mitchell,
Yeah.
and Robert was talking about what he does now because he can only take one client at a time. He can't double, triple book like he
Yep.
normally does,
Same as us. Same as us.
right? That's the new world.
It's
So
very,
he
yeah.
says what he does now is when that color is processing, he's not doing another client because he can't. So what does he do? He said he sits there with a client and he has a conversation like he never had before.
Mhm.
And he's teaching her and talking to her about things, whether it's her hair or about life. But he said he's making a connection like he's never made before.
Mhm.
Now, when he does that, he said, now I really have that client for life.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm talking about. It's the way it's changing the way we do things. No longer about fast pace and how many can I get in a day.
Mhm.
Now, when you think about that, Crystal, you're thinking, well, wow, that's financially hurt me. No, I think what you got to do is just think smarter in terms of that, like express services. You know, example of that would be I would tell people in the past before this pandemic, Crystal, would be I would say when you cut bangs or you cut a fringe, offer fringe benefits. And
Mhm.
people go, well, what's that, Sam? Invite them to come in and let them know you cut a fringe. You want to maintain that for them. So invite them to come in for one fringe trim between haircuts, and it's free. You're going to drive them back in the salon. You're going to trim it. It's in between two haircuts booked. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Done. And hopefully, what they're going to do is they're going to say, "Well, what's that shampoo and conditioner you recommended? I'll take that on my way out." See,
Yep.
there's that purpose for that.
It is.
But now, with the way it is, you can't do that anymore. I can't invite them to come in because I've got a client. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, "Okay, Crystal, remember the fringe benefit? Now I've added that into an express service.
Yeah.
So I see you're extending your haircuts to 10, 12 weeks. I recommend what we do is let's do a dusting in between that. Let me trim up your fringe, dust your front face frame area, dust your split ends, and it's half the price of a haircut and it's half the time, 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
You see? So
Yep.
you've taken that fringe experience and you create an express service out of it. So I really believe that's where we're going. And it's, the journey is just beginning in terms of discovering these changes.
And I think that that sometimes is something that maybe even I'd say that being guilty of, like I came from, and I don't know what it's like. I know state to state is different, but from a commission-based salon in Toronto, I worked for a mega salon in Toronto. And when I moved to Australia, I had a rude awakening to an hourly rate and
Yes.
no commissions, like, commissions, but nothing like what you or I would be familiar with. So I found it very hard to be motivated when I can sit in the back, which I would never do because it's not in me to do it because I came from a commission
Mhm.
based salon and it's just not what I would do, but I could be getting paid the same regardless. So I'm hustling and I'm really like busy all the time, filling my books, taking my breakout because that's what was put in me to do, kind of, to now being in this time that we're in where I can't fit those extra clients in and I'm slowing down and I'm taking the time to do one
Yes.
at a time. But it actually isn't impacting my paycheck very much at all because I basically get paid the same anyway. And
Isn't
I'm having that time with my clients that I am sitting with them. And it's almost this thing like, oh my God, am I allowed to do this? Like just
right?
it's like, is that unprofessional that I'm sitting with her? And I'm like, no, because I normally only have 20 minutes to have a conversation with her while I'm smashing her tint on to get to my next
Right?
one. And now
Exactly.
I have the time. And I think exactly what you said, they're appreciating that from me, and I'm appreciating that from them. I had a really great conversation with Frank Gambuza,
Oh,
and
I love Frank.
a line that he said to me was, the intelligence is in the room.
Hmm.
And those clients are giving me just as much as I'm giving them about my holiday, about, all their experience this year. And we're on connecting again, exactly what you just said and Robert just said, on this level that is making it deeper than it probably was. And I like to think I have a good connection with my clients before that anyway. But it's so true that,
Well,
yeah.
isn't it interesting? Sometimes, Crystal, we need to disconnect to reconnect.
Hmm.
And I think that that's what this whole thing has done.
Yeah. But what do
It's
you
the fact
say?
that it's just kind of awoken people up to think differently. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. So I just want to roll back to your dad saying to you about the platform artists and being like, there's no money in that or things like that. And now we're talking about reducing our services. How do you then say when someone's going on and I'm like, oh my God, this Sam guy, he's got all kinds of free stuff on YouTube and in Instagram, everything he's putting out is free. How is he making a financial is he financially stable right now? Like, how is that? How do you think that those things are able to come back and you are able to have success? Because as much as it is about loving what you're doing, and obviously we wouldn't do any of this if we didn't love it, but to the stylist coming into the industry being like, well, I'm never going to make any money doing this because everybody's doing it for free. So how do you have a thought on that or opinion on that or something?
Great question, because it leads up to, this whole idea of where's education going. Let me give it to you real simple. Okay. Now think about this. If I can help people get what they want, I'll get what I want.
Mm,
So it's not about the money.
yep.
It's about what am I helping people grow? Am I making hairdressers better hairdressers? Am I contributing to the industry? So if I keep that mindset, money comes in.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. I'll never forget my audition when I auditioned for Redken. I
Mhm.
had to have a model, the whole bit. And person that auditioned me, she goes, have a seat. She checked my haircut. She said, great. She looked at me. She said, you're overqualified. I go, what? She goes, Sam, you could be a level 4 artist for the brand now. But she goes, I'm not going to put you there because people are just going to stab you in the back and they're going to talk behind your back. She goes, you need to earn the right to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So she said, so here's what I'm going to do. You're going to come in, I'll bring you in, but I'm not going to bring you in at the price that you want, where you're at, your value is. I go, I'm not concerned about that. I
Mm,
go, I'll earn the right. She goes, well, come in, be who you are. when it comes time for you to get up and do a class or perform in front of them, because that's what you're going to do when we go through our training, they're going to go, wow, where did he come from? Or, let it happen. I go, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So I went in there and just, I trust and believe who I am. And even in the interview, she was taking notes, Crystal, like crazy. I go, what about the notes you took? And she said, are you kidding? I'm stealing your stuff. Yeah, she was great. But she said, so I want you to understand, I want to bring you in. So it's about earning the right. So now when you think about finances, yes, you have to have some stability in your life.
Yeah.
And, I had that stability, but as a Redken artist, I never asked to be an artistic director. Of course you want to grow, but you let your actions and you let your words push you up the ladder. I never demanded myself go up. People push me to the top. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
So, yeah. So they came to me, they said, hey, you need to be a level 3. Hey, you need to be a level 4. Hey, we're going to make you an artistic director. And then I came to them and I said, okay, I now need an exit plan. So my exit plan is I'm starting my own company and I'm going to go tools. That it fills a void that you don't have, that Redken doesn't have. So I said, I'm going to do tools. They said, I want your blessing. I'm not asking for money. I just want your blessing. And you're going to let me do it.
It's okay that I'm doing this and it doesn't look like I'm burning a bridge or going into direct competition with you or something along those lines.
Exactly. And they said, as long as you can do it, Sam, as long as you don't come out with a wet line. So that's what I did, was my tools were my exit plan, because Crystal, let's face it, platform artists, eventually your career comes to an end. Eventually people say, oh, I've seen Sam so many times. He does the same thing. He says the same things. Yeah, I'm gonna go see somebody else. That day is going to come. We all know it. Everybody's replaceable. So my exit plan is the tools. Yeah. So I believe,
that's your equity. That's your money coming in on the side.
Yes, while that's my money. And Redken takes great care of me, because I did things the right way. I hired an agent and I said, you need to speak to my agent. And they're like, what? I go, I let my agent do what he's good at and I do what I'm good at. They go, well, we can't talk to you to negotiate. I go, no, you talk to him. He knows what I want and what I need. And they took me even more serious after that. So the idea is that I think, my exit plan was, my tools were a way of saying, okay, this is what I have. But I believe this gets to where your question was. Yeah. Education sells tools.
Yes.
So when this whole thing came up, I said, my senior management team and my co-founder said, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to make DVDs, but I want to make them like a cooking show. They go, what are you talking about? I go, I want a camera crew to come to me to an in-salon program. And I want to be able to look at the camera and say, hey, did you hear that question? Did you hear that? You're probably wondering the same thing. So come on, watch. So that was like, and even behindthechair.com, she said, oh my God, revolutionary. I never seen a DVD like that before, where you're in the salons and they're asking questions. So it was live.
Not you just one-on-one with a mannequin or with a client looking at
here's step 1, here's step 2, right?
You're in the salon doing your client?
Yeah, they were doing their models, and they would follow me around coaching them on the models. And it was revolutionary. So what that took off. And then I said, oh, okay, guys, it's going to be social. They go, what are you talking about? I go, social media. It's going to be Facebook, YouTube, everything. So what are you talking about? I go, no more DVDs. We're going to do educational sound bites. Yep. And they go, what's that? I go, I'm going to give them sound bites, little hair hacks, little tips, little tricks, 5, 7, 10 minutes long, and say goodbye. And we're not going to charge them. We're going to continue. So that was how that whole thing started. Now, in today's world, everybody, I notice now, a lot of people are charging for their Zoom classes. And I think that they should be. I want to say that, but make myself perfectly clear. They should be charging. I think eventually that's going to happen, where I'm going to probably put a ticket price on my classes too. But there's going to be a why behind why I'm doing that. And maybe that's going to say, okay, I'm going to do a cut along, not a hands-on, a cut along, but your price includes your mannequin, includes a shear, etc. So I want to make it inclusive kind of thing. But I think that's where education is going. I want everybody also to understand live education is, to me, the top resource of education, aside from what we're doing here. You guys have to remember out there that the computer can't touch your heart. A live event can touch your heart. Oh, and a prime example of that was when I was doing a class, and this girl back in the room kept asking questions. And then her last question was, what do I do when I work in a salon of 15 people and I'm the only one that goes to educational classes. And when I get back, they want to know what I did and they want me to
Mhm.
share it with them. Should I be charging them? And I told her, no. I said, you share it with them, pay it forward, because when you teach somebody, it's going to anchor it and you're going to learn even more. I said, but I'm going to be really transparent. You're in the wrong salon. I
Mhm.
go, how many salon
First thing
owners
I thought
here?
when you said
The
it.
salon owners raised their hands. I go, I bet you guys want to hire this girl right now
Mhm.
because you're in the wrong salon.
Yeah,
And I guarantee you, before you leave this room, you're going to get job offers. Now, had it been a Zoom class, that
yeah,
might not have ever happened. But the
totally.
fact that it's a live event, she had offers after that class
Yeah,
that she said salon owners were coming up to her and saying, hey, come and work my salon. Here's my card. Here's my card. So that they were offering her to be involved in a more team environment atmosphere than where she was.
yeah. I think you're 100% right. And your story of your Vidal Sassoon moment, I had that at the Behind the Chair show in New Orleans with Sonia Dove. I was
Mm.
weeping, like absolutely bawling. And my best friend was beside me, who's also a hairdresser, and she's like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, "This is it." Like I knew it. I watched her, and I was like, "This is it. This is." I've had a few of those aha moments before of
Mhm.
knowing, kind of climbing the ladder. I knew I didn't want to work in a salon where I was getting my hair done as a kid. And then I saw a lady doing it from home and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like I never thought about it that way. She's got her kids home. She's making dinner while my foils are sitting and I'm paying her $100 an hour. Who do I know who's getting paid $100 an hour?
Right?
And then it evolved into the salon that I went to and then the hair show. And I went to the hair show and I said, this is it. And I've always felt like I was never that great at anything. You know, I played soccer, played a bit of musical instruments, you know, bit average, not the best. I got into hair and I was good at that. I was good at the connection. It instantly worked for me. Am I the best stylist or colorist? Maybe not, but I love the people aspect and I love the talking. And I think that's my gift is doing this. And, you know, maybe I'm not going to be on stage showing you how to cut hair, but I can be up there talking. I'm good at
Mhm.
talking. That's half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah, well, communication builds wealth. It definitely
Totally.
does.
But I was listening to you share your Vidal story, being like, I get it, I've had it, and it changed me, it changed everything. And then from there, I met Candy, and she changed my life. And you know, all of these moments lead to something. So where do you think? I'd love to go back a little to your story. Where did it change from you going into beauty school and then going to that hair show? And how did you then progress through? Did you work at a salon? When did you start being able to kind of make this name for yourself? And now you are the global artistic director for Redken. So, how did those things start happening for you?
Well, when I was once I got out of beauty school, I had an opportunity. I worked at a salon right behind the chair. It was a great salon, loved it. And then I had an opportunity to open up my own salon, opened up my own
Okay.
salon, and had that for 20 years. The two happiest days of my life. One when I opened it, and two when I got rid of it. Do I miss it? Yes, I do. I miss the team, the some of the clients, but I love what I'm doing. What I decided to do, Crystal, was write the last chapter on that book and
Yeah,
begin to write a new book. And the new book was being the educator that I wanted to be.
yeah,
For a while there, I was with a company called Hayashi, and we were basically more showmen than we were educators. And I
yeah,
really wanted to focus on the educational side. So I had a job offer by Redken to audition. I auditioned, got it. But I think Redken gave me the tools and the resource to make me who I am today, to understand
mhm,
what a real teacher is. And
yeah,
it's more learner focused than it is me standing in front of you guys and telling you need to do it this way or that way. Basically, like I love what Frank said, the intelligence is in the room.
yeah,
The concept and the idea of standing in front of people is making them the hero.
mhm,
So what Redken made me understand is it's learner focused. It's not about you. It's about the people that are sitting in front of you. How are you going to make them heroes? How are they going to walk away a hero? How are they going to walk away informed? How are they going to go back and use it?
yeah,
What's their call to action, et cetera. So Redken gave me all of those fundamentals in terms of the art of facilitation. Then from there, it took off because I took that model
yeah,
and made it work for the hairdressing world. in terms of facilitating. Started using flip charts, started really developing the questioning skills. So it really took off, in terms of really being an educator, took off there. And then the social platform really just complemented it and gave it more of a voice, if you will, in getting out there. But I think that, I think right now what people, if they would learn to listen and then listen to learn. I think that's important. That way you minimize, you minimize, you just start to minimize to maximize the impact of what it is that you do today.
Yeah.
And I hope that makes sense. Maximum results with minimum effort, I think, is a key in anything that people are doing in their life. That's so important.
I love it. I love hearing this. So how long have you been with Redken now?
Oh my gosh, Crystal, someone asked me that the other day too in another interview. Gosh, I think it's been over like 30 years.
Incredible.
I've been a hairdresser for 42 years. So
And what do you
yeah,
think has made that relationship with Redken stick? Because I think something that happens a lot is movement within the industry, within salons. What do you think for you are those things that have allowed you to stay with Redken, or, that you've seen through your experience with owning a salon or not? Like what makes that relationship work for you? Is it that they let you dream and let you come up, have your own identity as well, or the financial reward, or the team that you're with? What's kept that together?
all of the above. I think, one of the things is that I really made a decision, and a lot of it came from the coaching from my dad, was look, find a company, a brand that you love and stay there. Don't become a somebody that you don't want to, you're moving from company to company to company, because then people aren't going to believe what you have to say.
Yeah,
So
because
the
here I
more,
am telling you how much I love Redken, and next week I'm telling you how much I love Wella.
well, I love them both.
But yeah, totally.
I love them
I
both.
really do.
A little bit of this for that, a little bit of this for that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I love them both. But I think the idea was, he said, respect. He goes, integrity. He goes, if you move from one place to another, you tend to lose that respect. You lose that integrity. And he was speaking from experience, because, he was a Redkenite from the beginning. And he always told me, if you're ever going to get with a company, get with Redken. So the day I signed with Redken, he was ecstatic. But that's number one. Number two is, I knew I didn't want to move from one. Number two was, I, I, I found that I had to, what's my lane? I found my lane within that brand, and I stayed in my lane. And when it was time for me to speak, I spoke with intent and purpose. So I earned respect. And I think that's important. But most of the reason why I've stayed with Redken is because we've made a connection. I like to say we're connected at the hip. And that connection is, they gave me the resources, and they see the value of who I am and what I stand for.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, it's created a connection, and let's say a marriage, if you will, that's been inseparable for so many years. Now, will there come a time when it's time for me to move, or for them to say, Sam, goodbye? Who knows? I think that day or that time could come. Who knows, though? I'm happy where I'm at. I'd like to, be Kobe Bryant, and in my career with that team. But who knows? But I got to say, it's the resources. They take very good care of me financially. They respect my time. And they've given me the resources to make me who I am today as a facilitator. So that's why, we've had such a long relationship together.
I love that. I love hearing that. So how do you feel like it changed? When did it change that you were then headlining the main stage? Or, how did that happen? Was that because you were affiliated with Redken and Redken had that platform, and then now it's turned into you a bit? Or is it the same? Is it simultaneous, the two of them together?
I think it was simultaneous, but I think what happened was, when it really took off for me was when I started my own company.
Mm,
And then I started using the social
yeah.
as a platform to teach and educate, because, and don't get me wrong when I say this, but being on the social is what really put my name out there.
Yeah.
I was in a Redken bubble.
Yep.
And the way I got out of that Redken bubble was by being my own brand outside in social.
Being you.
So yes, exactly. And Redken saw that and they saw, oh my gosh, look at all the new people he's bringing into
Mhm.
Redken. They were following me into Redken. So
Yeah.
it was something where that respect is still there. They respect what I want to do. I respect what, because they see it's a win-win. So I think the idea was when it really exploded was when I took off on my social and the following just kept going. And then people go, God, how did you build that following?
Mhm.
Guys, it's just education. But it's when I made the decision to do social, my alarm would go off every morning at 6 a.m. When I made the decision to do social, my alarm went off at 5 a.m.
Because you needed that
So
extra hour to
exactly every
have your
morning I was
post.
doing that. That hour was devoted to social. Now, I don't suggest that's a good habit in the world today, maybe not for everybody, but for me at that time, it was something I needed to do. It was the commitment.
Mhm.
So, if people go, how'd you get where you're at? And here's what I tell you guys, if I can do it, you can do it. The only difference between you and I is maybe the commitment and maybe the practice. But
Yeah.
you're a human being, I'm a human being. You can do it if I could do it.
Yeah. And do you think that social media, so sometimes I think I have my own answer for this, but is this oversaturated place? And I mean, through this year, if anyone was going to be an educator, they came up this year and they were hopping on. So what do you think sets it apart for why you've gone to, I don't even know how many, you have like 800,000 followers or something crazy, don't you?
Mhm.
I was going to
Yes.
say million, but I think that's pushing it a little, but maybe not.
No.
What do you think set it apart? Do you think that it was just being yourself, or were you hashtagging or tagging thing like posting in all the Facebook groups? Check out this video I made. Like, how did you start getting it to be your name that they were seeing and following?
It was consistency. I think that's so important that people need to understand consistency. You got to have, posting, there's a whole thing in terms of a strategy behind it, and you have to understand the strategy. In other words, it's like I tell Redken, you can't do one post a week. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's not how you build a following. It's called consistency. Anything in life, success is part of being consistent and committed and doing things with integrity. So it's like this whole idea of that I like to do is the word think. What bothers me about social is how people are using it the wrong way and how people need to understand that you can really hurt people. I chose to use it like people go, oh, Sam, we need to make a stand on this. I go, we don't play that game. That's not part of the game I'm going to choose to play. Well, you need to make a statement on this and that. Okay, we'll make a statement, but we're going to make it the right statement that pertains to the industry. It's not my personal opinion.
And
So I think, social definitely is a lot of work. It's commitment. It has its ups and downs, and it's changing every week. It's changing in terms of how to play that game. I think I feel that it's definitely something that if you want to, um, how can I say? Oh, I'll say it this way. I really believe that social is today's business card. That's
mm,
the simplest way to put it.
just said this 2 days ago. I was just talking about business cards the other day, and I said I could not tell you the last time I gave a business card.
Right?
I give my Instagram.
Exactly.
That's
Social is the new
exactly.
business card.
Mhm.
My smile is my logo.
Yeah.
My the
And we have
way
good ones.
my smile is my logo and my personality is my business card.
Yeah.
But how people feel when they walk away from me after experiencing me, that's my trademark.
Yeah.
And I tell my team that that's how our business card operates. It's about, we became such a high tech society, Crystal. What happened to the high touch effectiveness?
Mhm.
Like yesterday, I got a thank you letter from Stephen Moody. Not a thank you letter, a congratulations letter. It was a letter, a note. And it wasn't a text. It wasn't this. And it was because he's nominated Educator of the Year and I'm nominated Educator of the Year. And he was sending me a note to say, congrats. How cool was that? And
That is, yeah,
I told my wife, I said, we framed
a
this.
letter.
And she goes, what? I go, it's a letter. When's the last time you saw a letter? And look
That
who
we
it's from.
send you.
Yeah,
I
look who it's
send
from.
out thank you cards
Yes, right? Those,
because Candy taught me that. And my
yeah,
mom probably taught me that too, but it
but
is
that's
something that she said to me that stuck with me. And any shoot that I go on that I have assisted on or anything.
Yes.
I did one with Sharon Blaine in, last year,
Oh,
2 years
wow.
ago probably, and I made sure that I had a card in my bag and it was empty. I didn't write it ahead of time. And when we had lunch, I, went to the toilet. And I'm like, God, Crystal, she really went away for a while there. But I wrote that card and I wrote about the day
Good
and
for
thank
you.
you for this moment that happened, or because that is exactly what you said. That's something that touched your heart, and you're not going to forget that he wrote you
Absolutely.
that card. But you're going to you maybe forget about the text messages because you got 20.
See, that's the high touch effectiveness that we need now. And I think that a lot of salon owners that are listening to this remember that, because I think a lot of times it's more than just a text message or a phone call or an email. It's really that personal little touch of a thank you card makes a big difference. That connection.
And I know you said you had a salon and sold it, so you don't have a salon anymore, right?
No, I have a handful of clients I try to and test things. I'm not a believer where, I can't be telling the salon owners or salons what to do or stylists what to do. I really feel that I've got to try and test this technique. I do a lot of research. I'm not a visionary. I'm not a rock star. I'm not a genius. I'm a hairdresser who chooses to be a teacher. So
Mhm.
that requires research, research, research. I'm not an inventor. I haven't invented anything, and I don't claim to invent anything. I'll take things that I see, I'll dissect them down, and then I'll alter it so it makes sense to me and it makes sense to you. That's important to me as a teacher.
And I think something that I found challenging when I was, say, sitting at home this year thinking like, okay, I love hair painting, that's my thing, that's what I love doing, but how am I going to do that and I'm not stealing Candy's curriculum? Or, okay, she's done it, so that's how I paint, so how am I supposed to teach that and have it be my own and be my thing? And I think that that is something that I've learned from talking to everybody, is that nobody invented the haircut. Like, you didn't invent what you're doing, but exactly what you said, you simplified it, you researched, you didn't watch maybe just one person or one education system, you watch them all and you pick and choose. And I think that sometimes it can deter people from maybe taking that leap because they feel like, I'm never going to be able to do it like Sam does it. He does it exactly how it makes sense to me. So if I do it like that, I'm stealing it from him. But
Well, I think I hear that word a lot, steal, steal. First of all, my question is, did you really invent it?
yeah,
Did Candy really invent it? Now,
yeah, totally.
Candy is superb.
Yeah.
Candy is excellent.
Mhm.
Yet balayage has been around. Now, people take balayage now. Instead of me, I was taught to turn it vertically, but I'm going to see what happens if I turn it diagonally.
Mhm.
It's still balayage, but there's little things that can change that can make it your own, so to speak. So I like to say, people go, "Oh, well, Sam, did you steal that from so and so?" I go, "No, they inspired me.
Yeah.
They inspired me. So I've taken that technique. Yeah, I saw it by so and so, but I've taken it. And if you watch, I'm doing it quite a little bit different than what they do it. Yeah, I've discovered another way to do it. That's all. So it's about, if I here's the most simple thing. If I can find 5 ways to cut a one length bob, I'm going to find 5 ways to do it. And
Mhm.
the reason being is because I don't want to become a little machine. I want to challenge myself. When I feel like a challenge, I'm going to say, you know what? I haven't cut it like number 3 in a while. I'm going to cut this bob like number
Yeah,
3.
love it.
You see where I'm going? And it inspires you and challenges you. I think that's what what people need to, let's stop worrying. Like people say, well, that's my technique. And every time I hear that, I go, is it really your technique?
Mhm.
What did you
Yeah.
call it? Oh, I call it the twisty highlight. I go, okay, the twisty highlight. So that would be something like braid it and then color it. It's all the same. What I want to share is this is look, my hope out of this whole thing, Crystal, out of this pandemic is that we come out as an industry where we are able to, it comes out with the possibility and the thought of sustainability. The stylists getting along with the independent person, the commission getting along with the independent, the salon owner getting along with the stylist commission, an hourly or a rental, the hairdresser getting along with a session stylist. You know what? Just everybody come out of this and know that we're all in this industry together. There's plenty for everybody, but it's up to you to go out and get it. Nobody's going to hand it to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's so important, is that we come out of this with respect and reconnected as a total industry. Not, I'm a session stylist,
Mhm.
well, okay, so well, great, you're a hairdresser.
I think
you know,
the prime example of that for me in this moment right now is me having this conversation with you, or having any of these people. Like, I've gone from having guests on the show who are girlfriends of mine that I work with in the salon, to people like you who, I have never met before and never spoken to, and would to me be at this level that I'm like, oh my God, as if they have time for me. But it goes to show that at the end of the day, you are the same as me. You're a person,
yes,
and you had
right.
a vision, and you, I bet, stay up at night with all these
Oh yeah.
ideas, well, just like
Well,
I do. And
my
I have
my
my
wife
book.
thinks my wife thinks I'm crazy.
My
And she goes,
boyfriend thinks
she goes, you amaze me. You only get you sleep, the longest I've ever seen you sleep is 6 hours. And I said, sleeping is a waste of time. I said, successful people are doing things while others are sleeping. And she goes
I write
crazy.
all my notes at night. I
Yep.
only have my good ideas, few and far between, but at night. I have never thought of anything during the day.
Right. I mean, we're too busy mind during the day. I
Oh
mean,
my
what
God,
is it?
yeah.
The average person, Daniel Mason Jones shared this. The average person does this action for 2.5 hours a day.
Yep.
Imagine that. You're doing this, just this finger moves 2.5 hours a day. Isn't that amazing? That's average for a
Yeah.
person. It's just amazing the way we're using our time nowadays.
Yeah.
Quite different.
And then that's the thing, to know that people are doing that, and how is your video going to stand out?
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Because everybody's doing it. So get them to watch you and do that, and
Mhm.
love it.
Like Redken, they said, Sam, we want you to do these product videos, our new launch and this and that. I said, great, I'm happy to do it. Here's the script. And I said, okay, well, I said, we respect your platform. We know, I said,
Mhm.
look, I'm not going to stand in front there, hold Redken and talk
Yeah.
Redken and say, hey, here's the features. I said, no, I'm going to have a mannequin there. I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach them something that applies to the product, but I'm going to give them a hack or a trick. And they respect that because they go, I said, that allows you to respect my platform,
Yeah.
because my platform is education. So it's not going to be product driven so much. If I'm going to put product, it's going to be tool sales,
Yeah. Totally.
so I don't want a brand controlling my platform, although I have certain expectations that I need to meet for Redken. But what that's so cool, Crystal, is they allow me to do it my
Yeah.
way.
Which is
You
why
know?
you appreciate them and why they appreciate you.
Yes.
So before, you mentioned something that you've had a few falls, right? You've had moments and things that happened. If you don't mind, I would love you to share one of those falls, one of those times that you thought, oh, like, that's it, I'm done, that's the end of my career, or, how am I going to come back from this? And obviously you have. So I think it's important for people to know that it doesn't always go smooth. They don't always say yes. You might not have got the audition with Redken, but now you did. So would you mind sharing maybe one of those moments that changed it for you? And
I'll never forget this one. It was in the beginning of my career. I had some shows under my belt, maybe about a dozen shows underneath my belt. And I had gotten this booking with doing this show and doing main stage. And I was following Paul Mitchell. Now, this was probably 79. Now, remember, I got out of beauty school in 76. By 79, I was going on a platform, but I was really winging it. I was
yeah,
not who I am today. So I followed Paul Mitchell. Now, this is Paul Mitchell himself.
yes, yes.
Okay, Paul Mitchell himself. So they had me following him. I went up there, I did my show, I got off the stage, and my coach and mentor at this time was waiting for me. He looked at me, he said, "What was that?" And when I was walking off, I didn't feel good about what I did. I didn't
Mhm.
feel like myself. He goes, "What was that?" I go, "What do you mean?" I was up there teaching. He goes, "Sam," he goes, "You were trying to be Paul. You were
Mm.
trying to be somebody you're not." He goes, "I want you to look at me and listen to this." He goes, "Be what got you here. Trust in yourself that what got you here is what you've been doing, not who you've been pretending to be."
Mhm.
He goes, "So move forward here." He goes, "And remember, when you get up there and you find yourself not comfortable, it's because you're not coming from inside." He goes, and he said, look, who cares if some of those people out there don't like you? He goes, you're not going to please everybody.
Yeah.
You know, the formula for success is, and I can't tell you what the formula for success is, Crystal, but I will tell you the formula for failure is trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
So for those stylists out there behind the chair, remember, put out 100 to 110% to that guest that's sitting in your chair. Work and communicate with intent and purpose. Give them 110% of your time,
Yeah.
of your focus, of your energy, of your mental knowledge. Give them 110%. And if they walk away not happy, that's their problem,
Yeah.
not yours,
You,
because you
at
know
least
you
you
put
were
it.
you. Whereas if
Yeah.
they walk away and they're like, well, she was really annoying.
But that was the one time that I had fallen, was that time when I fell and I thought, ooh, you know, and I've gone there before. I've come back and I felt that again. I thought, oh, that wasn't good. I was trying too hard. You know,
Yeah.
it's a matter of me just taking a deep breath and say, okay, you know, let's go out there, let's share, take a deep breath. You know, people go, do you ever get butterflies? You know, I'll never forget doing the hair expo
Yep.
and going before I went up on stage. I was so nervous. I mean, I have
Here,
so
right? In
much,
Australia.
yes. Yes, I have so much respect for the Australian hairdresser. I'm serious here. I
Yeah.
respect the Australian hairdresser. They're one of the most creative that I know. You know, I think
They're a tough
Scotland,
crowd. Tough
yeah.
crowd. Do you think?
In New Zealand, yeah, tough crowd indeed. And New
Yeah.
Zealand, same thing. Very, very talented. So, you know, when I went there, I had butterflies and people go, Sam, you're nervous? I go, look at me. And I was shaking. My palms were set. And they go, wow, you get nervous? I go, look, the day I don't get nervous, something's wrong. That
Yeah.
means I'm taking this for granted and it's time for me to do something else. So butterflies and those things are good. You know, it's a matter of how you control ego. I mean, ego is really good, guys, and it's a good thing to have. But my question is, how do you control it? How do you manage ego? Because ego is all about letting go. Let go of your ego, and there is no fear. You know, success will come. You know, success is like chasing a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. But if you focus on the task at hand, success will land on your shoulder.
So good. I really love that story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
And okay, I just heard you say one more thing, and then we'll figure out how we'll wrap up. I feel like I could never wrap up. But when you said you came off the stage and your coach was the one who said it to you, do you have a business coach or a mentor? Or I know you have people now, like I was coordinating with your people for this event. Like how did that happen? Or do you think that's something that's really important? Do you have a coach for the hair industry or for your public speaking? What?
Call whoever it is that you go to, whoever it is that you go to for support, whoever it is that you go to for reasoning, for answers. You know, call them your coach, call them your advisor, call them your mentor, call them whoever you
Yeah.
want. But I think you need to have someone. I think, you know, like when I'm on a photo shoot, you know, I'm asking people, what do you think? And they're like, you're asking me what I
Mhm.
think? I go, yeah, two sets of eyes are better than one set of eyes. And, you know, I think that, so it's so important, guys, don't try to do things by yourself. So whoever you have, whether it's a life coach, whether it's a mentor or just a friend that you go to, I think those people are important. That person at that time was one of my best friends, who also was, at the time, I was very fortunate, was a client, and who also supported me in opening and investing in my first salon. So that became friendship. Then it became a business partnership. And believe it or not, to this day, that person is still one of my co-founders of my brand.
Wow.
So I think coaches are important. I think right now, you know, I don't know about you, but I get the same feeling from you that you do a lot of research. You know, I do a lot of research, a lot of reading, I'm on the computer
Yeah.
doing a lot of research. And I think that's important. So the computer can be a great coach, but I think it's important to have someone by your side or be surrounded by a team. And I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by the people I'm surrounded with.
Amazing. I feel the same, that the people that I have around me, whether it's in my professional life or my personal life, you I couldn't do it without them, and I couldn't have done this year without having good people, and good people like you having this conversation with me is what makes me get through that, being away and on the other side of the world. But I'm not by myself. I've got good people around me, but it makes a difference. And I think these conversations make a difference. And I hope that people, hear what we have to say and what you have to say. And I feel very grateful for your time and that you have, sat with me.
My pleasure. Are you kidding? I'm glad that we had the opportunity. And I guess I'll leave your people with this. I really think that you know, there's so much out there right now.
Mhm.
And it's some people say to me, it's so much, Sam, it's too much. I recommend that what you do is you grow your compliments versus your comments.
Mm,
And, so if you focus on that and listen to that statement because it applies behind the chair.
yeah.
Grow your compliments versus your comments. The good Lord gave us two of these and one of these. We need to listen with intent and purpose. And then when we use this, we use it with intent and purpose. But listen to understand before you seek to be understood.
Love it. That's something that people will find funny is that all my American guests, to say you, Frank, Candy, you guys love a saying or an expression or these things. But I think that is something that sticks with you when you are in an education setting or anything, a life conversation. Those expressions stick with you. And I just think it's funny because you do them as well. And it warms my heart.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad they do.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And I have definitely learned from this. And yeah, definitely exactly what I wanted to get. So I just really appreciate you sharing the time with me.
My pleasure, my dear. Whenever you see me at a show, always come up and say hi. Remember, you have a friend. And once again, thanks for reaching out. And if we get an opportunity, let's do this again.
Oh my God, I would love to. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Successful Stylist Unfoiled. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube to get all the notifications of our weekly episodes.